Welcome to all from our Central Catholic family who have joined us for this town hall meeting. I hope the night will be informative and answer many of your questions. Before we proceed into the program, I'm going to ask Father Cyrils to lead us in prayer. Father Cyrils.
Thank you, Mr. Rice, and good evening, everyone. Let us pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord Jesus Christ, we place our trust in you and in your most sacred heart. And we ask you to bless and surround us all as we plan for the year ahead. We ask you to be our strength, the source of all that we do. And Lord, may all that we do and all the sacrifices and successes and joys and trials ahead be for your glory. And may you be our strength through them all. Again, we make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Faced with the many challenges of COVID-19, Allentown Central Catholic has maintained the safety and health of our entire school community is of paramount importance. At the same time, we are committed to provide our students with high-quality academic programs in the long-standing tradition of Allentown Central Catholic. Our staff has and will continue to work tirelessly to meet these goals. Therefore, a committee was established approximately 6 weeks ago to develop our return to school plan. This plan has been submitted to and approved by the Diocesan Department of Education. Now, as we look ahead to the opening of the school in the fall, it is our hope and intention to open our doors to the full student body with new safety procedures in place. In order to familiarize our students with the new safety procedures for the 2020-2021 school year, we have decided to stagger the opening days as follows. Monday, August 31st, freshmen and new students in grades 10 to 12 only. Tuesday, September 1st, freshmen and sophomores only. Wednesday, September 2nd, juniors and seniors only. Thursday, September 3rd, all students will report. Before we go further, I just want to remind everyone that there is a notice at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It should be on each screen about the process that you would go through in order to ask a question. Questions will be answered at the end of tonight's session. Now, before we delve into the specifics of our plan, I want to caution all of us that this is and will continue to be a work in progress, subject to updates and directives from the governor's office as well as our diocese. The diocese is currently developing a bank of letters that we will use to communicate concerns and any changes in policies and procedures. Another area I want to touch upon very quickly is transportation. Transportation is dictated by the local school districts, but we are adding an additional van to be able to reach our students in the outlying areas beyond the limits where their school districts will provide transportation. Now we're going to continue into the main part of the program this evening by getting into the various parts and components of our return to school plan. We will be dealing with safety and security procedures, our academic plans, our campus ministry, and our athletics and activities. I'm going to ask Diane Young to take over next and start with the safety and security procedures. Diane?
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Good evening, Central Catholic families. It's wonderful that you could join us tonight to hear the plan that we have put together. As Mr. Rice said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the safety and security procedures that we have devised to keep all members of our school community as safe as we possibly can. I'll start with the PPE, or the personal protective equipment. We have ordered masks that all students, teachers, and staff must wear at all times during the day, except for when eating or drinking. These masks they have a charcoal filter and these charcoal filters have a life of 3 months. Each student will receive 5 of these masks. They are either black or dark gray, and they have the ACCHS and the Viking head logo on the side to continue to show our Viking pride and our Viking spirit as we wear these masks. These masks will become a part of the school uniform this year for the students, but all teachers, staff, and students will wear the masks that we will issue to them in the beginning of, on the first day of school. As far as eating and drinking is concerned, absolutely no food can be allowed in classrooms this year. And we also ask that the students, if they do want to carry a water bottle, they do carry their own water bottle. We cannot share water bottles this year. And that they're clear, and they do have some sort of a drinking device, you know, one of those built-in straw kinds of things that the students can drink from. We do have the bottle filling stations. We have 2 bottle filling stations now, one in the 200s and right outside the admin wing, and then one outside the boys' locker room in the gym. But we do ask that the drinking is kept to a minimum as we're walking through the halls and in the classrooms. Primarily, we ask that eating and drinking be reserved solely for the cafeteria. Okay. We do recommend that students wear masks when they leave their cars in the parking lot, in the pits, and they walk into the school. We would prefer that they have their masks on when they enter the building. Okay. And in addition to teachers having to wear masks, just like the students and the staff members, while teachers are teaching, they will be given face shields to use while they are teaching in lieu of wearing the mask. And that is so that students can see teachers' mouths moving while they're speaking. It's a proven fact that you can understand somebody better when you can see their mouth moving while they're speaking to you. However, while wearing those face shields, the teachers must have to maintain a 6-foot distance from the students in the classroom. Now, as far as our testing and contact tracing is concerned, there will be temperature screening for all people when they enter the building. Students will be entering through, right now, 2 entrances. Possibility of a 3rd entrance will be added once school begins, so we can see how quickly we can move the students through. They will be in the entrances that the students come through, there will be thermal scanners, thermal screens. They're about the shape size of an iPad, a little bit larger than an iPad, that the students walk past, and it detects their temperature within 3 seconds. And if there's an elevated temperature, it will notify, or a notification will be set off to that there is an elevated temperature. In addition to these screens, if for some reason we would miss somebody walking into the building with an elevated temperature, it would take a picture and send it to the administrative team, so that way we can find the student and then isolate them. If there is an elevated temperature detected, that person will be moved into the isolation room for a period of 30 minutes, and the temperature will be checked again after 30 minutes. If after 30 minutes, the temperature is still elevated, and by elevated, we mean a temperature equal to or greater than 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, then the student will be instructed to return home. Parents will be contacted, and somebody will need to come pick up the student by 9 a.m. that morning. Okay. In order for the student then to return to school, they do need to have a note from their doctor, or they need to have present a negative COVID test result. Okay. If in fact a student would have an elevated temperature and would need to stay home for an extended period of time, or come into contact with somebody outside of school that does have COVID-19 and needs to isolate for 14 days, we would ask that the parent contacts the school as soon as possible and informs us of the fact that your child would need to be staying home, and then we can then put into place the at-home blended learning model for your child, and we can send a Zoom link out for your student to Zoom into classes as they're able to. Okay. For physical distancing, we have measured the length and the width of every classroom in the school, and we are able to maintain a distance of 3 to 6 feet between student desks in the classrooms with the student desks. The most recent CDC and Pennsylvania guidelines that were set out says that desks or guidelines state 6 feet apart where appropriate. We will try our hardest to separate the students as far away as possible, but again, this is why everybody must wear masks at all times during the school day. Plexiglass dividers will be used in the cafeteria, in the science rooms, on the science tables, and in the art room, and any other classroom that uses tables in lieu of student desks. Stairways will be one way in order to limit congestion, and there will be signage throughout the school in the hallways and through the stairways to remind students of social distancing, as well as the directions that the different stairways will be. The main stairway, the atrium stairway, will be one way going up from level 5, which is the balcony of Rockne, all the way up to level 7. The front steps of Rockne, which is the stairway that you would see when you're looking at the entrance to the balcony on 4th Street, and the front steps of Masson, again, which would be the stairways as you enter into the Masson kiosk area, those will be one way going down. All right, and then the atrium, and the reason why we have the atrium going as one way going up from level 5 to level 7 is because students that go down the front steps of Rockne can then go across the balcony in Rockne and connect with the atrium, and they can go down to level 4, to level 3, to level 2, or to level 1, but then they can also go back up to level 6 if they need to. Okay. Bathroom use is going to be restricted between classes. If students need to use the restroom, we will require that they go to class first and then ask permission. And this is to avoid the mass numbers of students that would congregate in the bathrooms in between classes. We will also have social distancing signage on the floors in the bathrooms, as well as outside the bathrooms in the hallways. And also locker accesses will be restricted. And that again is to avoid masses of students at the lockers in between classes. We will require that the students go to their lockers when they first arrive at school in the morning, at the beginning of their lunch period, and then after the afternoon announcements in between periods 7 and 8. So that way at the end of the day, they can just go right to their bus if they need to. Now, as far as the cleaning is concerned, we have spent a lot of time researching and purchasing wipes and hand sanitizers that are CDC and EPA approved. They're on the approved list. Hand soap and paper towels will constantly be stocked in the bathrooms. And the teachers will clean their desks, the student desks, after every class leaves their room every day. The maintenance people will focus on cleaning the bathrooms and all common areas such as the stairways, the hallways, the elevator, water fountains, consistently throughout the course of the day. We are looking into, and I believe we have ordered, the spray that the teachers would just spray on the student desks, and it kills the virus within 5 seconds and evaporates very quickly. But there will also be cleaning wipes for students if they choose to wipe down their desk, in addition to the teachers spraying them. When they come into class, the students are welcome to wipe down their desks if they would like to, just for that extra security. Every classroom will have a posted cleaning log, and on the cleaning log, it will indicate the date, the period, the cleaning products used, as well as the initials of the teacher after they spray the desks. These cleaning logs will also be hung visibly in the bathrooms, as well as in the elevator. And again, the maintenance crew will initial it every time the bathrooms and the elevator are cleaned. We will have standalone hand sanitizer stations at all the entrances in the hallways, as well as gallon hand sanitizer containers in all classrooms, along with the wipes that are in the classroom. So students will be encouraged to continuously use hand sanitizers. Again, the bathrooms will be stocked with hand soap and paper towels regularly throughout the course of the day, they will never run out of hand soap and paper towels if the maintenance people are going in on a regular basis and cleaning the bathrooms, okay? And there is one other thing I did want to mention, and this was a question that was posed prior to this evening, and that was about the cafeteria. I had said that food will, mainly be reserved for the cafeteria. We will be meeting with Sodexo, which is the company that provides our lunches for us in the cafeteria, and they are a food service company that service many high schools and many elementary schools, as well as hospitals in the area. So they do have the CDC requirements, so we will be meeting with them to finalize the lunch plans, but they are aware of the guidelines that have been put out by the CDC. And on that, I would like to now introduce Mrs. Ralston, our Director of Studies, who will take you through our academic plans.
Good evening. I am going to discuss the academic models that we have come up with in the past few months. There are 3 models that we have. We tried to think about all the different scenarios, even as things change daily, if not weekly. But we think using the information from surveys that we sent out and surveys that the diocese sent out, that not only can we provide a safe environment, but we can continue to provide a quality education under any of these models. So I'm going to begin with the first model, which is face-to-face traditional. As I go through this, however, there is the alternate plan if you are not comfortable sending your student home. So we are open to all students, and they are welcome, and we can provide as safe an environment as possible. However, students and parents have the option of keeping their student home, and we're going to review that on a quarterly basis. There will be a Zoom requirement. It will be a regular school day, whether students are in school and getting face-to-face instruction, or if they choose to stay home. So those of you that kind of went through this with us in the spring, being at home is going to be different than it was in the spring. You will continue to follow the regular schedule, A to E days for those parents that are new to us. We have an A to E 5-day schedule, and we have an 8-period day. And we are going to continue to have that in place as we would during any other year. So students would have to start the school day, if they're home, with the school children that are here, the students that are here. Students will come in, they'll go through the safety procedures that Mrs. Young outlined. We are not going to have a homeroom. Students will report directly to period 1. This is one less time where they have to move between classes. Attendance will be taken in period 1. If you are familiar with our schedule, you know that periods 1 and 2 change from A to B to C, D, and E day, but we have that also planned for it. So they will have a different homeroom. Essentially, they'll have 2 different homerooms. But the homeroom is part of their period 1. I don't want to confuse you, sorry. So no homeroom, that's included in period 1. However, we will have prayers and announcements at the beginning, and attendance will be taken. Students then will continue on with instruction. Some things we've changed about how instruction will be delivered and materials that students are permitted to have is with their textbooks. We are going to give students textbooks, hard copies, at the beginning of the school year when they first come in and go through their classes. We are going to ask them and require them to take those textbooks home and to leave those textbooks at home. We are trying to eliminate as many materials inside the classroom as possible. This is why we've asked teachers to take out any filing cabinets so that we could provide as much space as possible, and also so students aren't touching a lot of different things that someone else may have touched. So all teacher materials are only going to be in their area. Students will then bring their iPads, and of course it should be charged as always for the day. Any material that a teacher needs to reference that is from the textbook, they will have scanned and placed on their class page. So if they're going to use Pages and they unfortunately do not have an online textbook that accompanies the hard copy, then it will be scanned in so that students can follow along on their iPad. The only materials that students then need to bring to class are their own materials. They can bring their own notebooks. They can bring their own pens and pencils. That's fine, but they should keep in mind that they should really stress being very prepared, because we really should not be sharing any materials. So if they want to take notes by hand, they should be prepared with a writing utensil to do so. The teacher will understand that there are some students that are Zooming in. So the teacher is essentially, our tech department has done a wonderful job, going to be giving that instruction both to the face-to-face, to the teachers, to the students that are in the room, but also be providing that same instruction to those individuals who have chosen to stay at home. So they'll take attendance of both the online people and the people that are face-to-face. We are encouraging students and teachers at the beginning of the year to really think about the procedures that are in place, to have that discussion in the classroom. We want any student who has chosen or needs to stay home to feel included in that classroom. We want to make sure that there is a feeling of school community, that when that student feels prepared to come in face-to-face, they know the kids in the class, they're comfortable with the teacher. So we're going to ask that they take some time at the beginning to do icebreakers, to do things that make the kids who are Zooming in from home really feel included, and not that they're just, taking a virtual class with strangers, especially again for those students that are new to us. So besides textbooks, everything will pretty much be online. Our goal is to have a paperless classroom with no sharing or handing of papers or submitting papers. So all assignments and directions and any materials that are needed will be posted on the class page. All assessments will also be online, so there'll be online tests and online projects that can be done, and there's a lot of unique ways to even have group projects with face-to-face students working as well with students who are Zooming in. Our teachers have learned a lot in the last few months, and we continue to learn over the summer, and we will have a lot of professional development. We want this to be a real school classroom as normal as possible, even with everything being online. All submissions, to keep down on the paper as well, will be turned in by a new program that we purchased, Turnitin. So all students, no matter what the assessment is, will have to submit it to a Turnitin Dropbox. One advantage of the Turnitin Dropbox for us is that we can detect any kind of plagiarism, so we avoid that issue at all costs. It does exactly give us what percentage may have been seen of that work may have been seen previously, either with another student or online. So we're trying to encourage our students, of course, to submit their own work. And everything will be laid out as it was in the spring on class page by Sunday night. That's something we picked up from the survey, that parents and students would like to have that before the Monday. So by Sunday at 8 p.m., parents and students can look on the Student Sapphire page and see exactly what they need to be doing for that week, when it is due, how many points it is worth, and they can then manage their time accordingly. We thought that worked well. We are going to, again, for the benefit of those students that are home, that choose to stay home, not have any homework that is due the next day. There's going to be 2 days between any time there is something assigned, and at least 2 days, and when it is due. This way, if a student is Zooming in and they have a question and they can't go to the teacher's classroom, or they can't maybe ask somebody in the hallway, they have the ability to ask a question about that assignment when they Zoom in the following day. So they don't have to email the teacher. They have enough time that they will have the next day in class before the assignment is due to ask any kind of questions they might have about that particular assignment. Teachers will continue to have office hours, and we are encouraging them as much as possible to make those Zoom office hours. Again, we cannot eliminate anything, but we are doing our best to mitigate. So whenever we can mitigate any possibility of danger, we are going to take that step. So we will encourage them to have Zoom hours and to make those a little bit later in the day, giving the students, of course, time to get home. Most teachers had them a little bit before school opened or right after school closed. So maybe they'll have it at 4 o'clock or sometime even later. And of course, as always, by appointment, if those times that they have listed are not good for the student and they have to work around it, they can still make an appointment. Between classes, and there will be, again, 8 classes, students will be having 7 minutes. It's usually been 4 minutes. Now they will have 7 minutes. The dismissals from classes will be staggered to avoid having too many people in the hallway. The 7 minutes allows students to go to a hand sanitizer, allows for the staggered schedule, and allows teachers to do the cleaning of the desks before admitting the next class in. So that's something a little bit different, and that schedule will be published later. So that is the face-to-face model. And again, with the face-to-face model, it is the traditional model for those who are returning. And those that are coming will soon learn that this has been the schedule that we've been following for years. However, again, you have the option if you want to keep your student home, but it is going to be a structured school day for them from 8 a.m. to 2:50 p.m. Okay, with attendance required at all classes. Second model, and the only time that we would change from Model 1 to Model 2 is if there is some kind of mandate from the state, if something changes. So if there is a mandate saying that the capacity that we're allowed to have has been lowered, well, then we would go to having 50% of students at home and having 50% of students face-to-face. Students would come in 3 days a week, 1 week, and then the following week they would come in 2 days a week. Again, we have an A, B, C, D, E schedule. So 1 week they would come in ACE day. The next day they would come in on a B and a D day. We will have these schedules posted on Sapphire. They'll be in the Sunday weekly bulletin, as they always are, and they will also be on our website, as they always are. And having that Sunday night weekly task will also help keep those kids organized. So they'll see the teachers 5 times in a 10-day cycle, and they'll be home 5 days in a 10-day cycle. Learning from, again, our past experience, we will reduce the amount of Zoom time to 20 to 25 minutes. So the periods would be about 10 minutes to 15 minutes less, so that students do have a break. There may be a little more additional homework assigned due to that, but we don't want students to be sitting in front of the computer all day long. But they will be, again, structured day, 8 o'clock to 2:50, and attending all 8 periods, whether they are in school or whether they are home. The third option, which we hope not to have to use, is fully online. But even that option, we would maintain a structured school day. In the spring, we had a different type of format for teaching. However, we would stick to the school day of 8 a.m. to 2:50 p.m., continue to provide 8 periods a day of instruction, and of course lunch. We would do the 20 to 25 minutes each class, again, just like in the 50-50 option. Have the task list, again, which would help. Our goal when we had our committee and our subcommittees, our goal in the academic committee was to make the transition as seamless as possible, so that if something changes for 2 days and we go to one model to the next, they're still maintaining their routine. Nothing changes. There's still period 1, period 2, period 3. We feel this is better for the students, and again, it allows us to continue to provide a rigorous curriculum. Communication with teachers, again, if they were home, we'll see the teacher every day, so it's a little bit different than it was prior, so that should not be an issue. The teachers would continue to provide their office hours, of course, so they would be there for that. We hope to have a lot less technical difficulties. When we come into school for the first few days, that is going to be part of the orientation, to do a debrief with all the students and to go over exactly what all the technical components and all the programs that they would need to use, and this is how you use it. Again, it's seamless, so we start from face to face. They're really going to be using the same tools that they would be using in the other 2 models, Turnitin, for example. So it's not going to be a dramatic change to go from one model to the next. Of course, there's the help desk is always available for the tech department. They did a great job in the spring. I am now going to turn it over to Father Seals, who will talk about any changes in campus ministry.
Thank you, Mrs. Rolston. And again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us and for tuning in. I'm excited to say just briefly that our theme for this upcoming school year is a beautiful phrase, cor ad cor loquitur, meaning heart speaks to heart. And Bishop Schlert, our Bishop of the Diocese of Allentown, and Dr. Teche, the Chancellor for Catholic Education, have really asked us in different ways to focus on the ministry of presence this year. So whether we're face-to-face or at home, and as we have a whole bunch of different scenarios and possibilities before us, there's still a lot of ways we can be present to each other and present, especially to the most Sacred Heart of Jesus, who's always been a beautiful patron for this block of 4th Street. As I always love looking out of our atrium and seeing on top of the hospital with his arms extended over Central Catholic, the Sacred Heart of Jesus looking out for us. So we place all of our trust in him and this entire school year in his loving hands and in his Sacred Heart. And that idea of heart speaks to heart will be very beautiful, how our teachers work extra hard to communicate with their students, how we still work on prayer and a relationship with the Lord in all these situations. So this phrase and this theme for the school year, I think, apply to all of our different scenarios and possibilities, and how we still try in a great way to be present to each other and present to our God, as he certainly will be present to us in a lot of beautiful ways. So just a little preview of the exciting theme for our school year. And then going into campus ministry and how we live our faith, we'll still do our best to be the most vibrant Catholic school and with a strong campus ministry, informing our students not only intellectually, but spiritually, and just giving them good human formation in whatever type of interactions we're able to be a part of. So our faith is still high on our priority. I will continue to offer a daily mass in our chapel, and we will still try to offer some form of school masses, like on the days of opening, we'll have masses by grade, so that we can have a smaller number of students spread out in a large space like Rockney Hall or Masson Auditorium, as we were able to just this past Sunday successfully celebrate a baccalaureate mass for our senior class of 2020. So we will follow very strictly the guidelines set by Bishop Schlert in the Diocese of Allentown, which are very safe and practical oriented, but also keeping a spirit of reverence. And thankfully, since the beginning of June, our parish churches have successfully been able to conduct masses and other forms of worship and devotion with the proper protocol and safety measures in mind, to let us still gather in some form and pray. So we'll be able to both stream those things for our students at home and especially celebrate those things safely with our students in person in different ways throughout the school year. And again, we're not certain of exactly what's going to happen throughout the year, so we'll be very flexible and make decisions on a weekly and daily and monthly basis as necessary for some of our bigger celebrations and annual traditions at Central Catholic that are a neat part of our identity as well. We're very blessed this summer. Our Amy Sullivan Memorial Garden has been planted, and some students have already been volunteering to water, and thank God outside things right now are very easy and safe to do with some spreading out. Our food pantry is still fully stocked, and right now Catholic Charities has been working very hard in the city of Allentown to feed the growing number of people in need. So we will try to be creative this year with Mr. Patrick Markham. If students are willing and their parents feel that it is safe, to find ways to especially raise some food supplies and things to distribute to those in need, because that is still a big part of our community. And we'll do that again with more information coming to you from campus ministry and our service office from Mr. Markham about how we can do those kind of drives and still help those in need, which is a neat part of our mission as well. Retreats, a lot of that is still to be determined. We hope very much so to do our great traditions like Kairos in 40 hours. But with the current situation, those aren't possible in the present moment if the situation continues. So we will continue to update you in different ways. And if needed, we could do, again, like we would do school masses by grade with a smaller number of persons together in one space with spreading out and safety precautions. We could experiment in the year ahead with retreats by grade as well. Obviously, it would be hard to go to some of our pilgrimages and sites on location and bus trips, all the fun things we look forward to doing again in the future when it's safe, but we'll have a very adjusted retreat and community service plan for the year ahead. So right now, the same requirements will be in place with limited restrictions. We hope not to just cancel the requirements like we did last year on the fly with all the things that needed to be decided, but we will be creative and giving you more information on how our students might do different spiritual exercises and community service exercises, even if it's just serving the community of the home and family will be creative and still encourage them to do some acts of kindness and charity and grow in the corporal and spiritual works of mercy throughout this year. So stay tuned for a lot more information to come on that. But again, we're praying for you all, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon. God bless. And now we'll continue, I think, again with Mr. Rice.
It's actually me, Father, but that's okay.
Right.
Many of you are already aware of our athletics plan, safe return to play plan, because it was implemented back or sent out back on June 26th to be implemented in the beginning of July in order for our athletes to get back into Rockne Hall and get back on the practice field. But if you have any questions regarding the athletics return to play protocol, you can find it on our website under the athletics tab. As far as social events and clubs and activities are concerned, I know students are concerned about these, and we are too. We enjoy the social events for our students and the various clubs and activities that many of our students are involved in. Social events will be planned. For example, I'm talking about homecoming and the homecoming dance. That will be planned based upon state and diocesan regulations at the time. As we all know, rules change almost daily, it seems. You know, new information comes out, protocols change, things change daily, weekly. So at the time when we are planning for homecoming, we will have to see what the state and diocesan regulations are at that particular time before we can go ahead and plan the usual homecoming activities. There's many other events as such, you know, pep rallies and things like that, that we'll have to wait until we get closer to that event in order to plan appropriately. Clubs and activities, for the most part, will follow the athletic protocol, specifically activities such as the play, the drama, the winter drama, the musical, dance team, things to that effect. The clubs, things such as student council and other clubs that usually have regular meetings, we will encourage Zoom meetings to continue to be used. Again, as Mrs. Ralston said, where we can mitigate, we're going to mitigate. So we will encourage the Zoom meetings to be held so that way we can keep the students separated safely. As far as visitors are concerned, we will only allow visitors with an appointment to come into the building. If a student forgets something or something needs to be dropped off for a student or picked up from a student, that can happen at the security kiosk down in the front entrance of Masson, our new security kiosk that we had created last year. But only visitors with a set appointment will be allowed to enter the building. At that time, the visitors will have to do their temperature screening, as well as answer questions on a COVID questionnaire. If at the time the visitor has an elevated temperature or responds yes to any of the questions on the COVID questionnaire, they will not be able to keep their appointment and they will be asked to leave the building. But if a visitor does come in, temperature and the COVID questionnaire check out, then they will need to wait at the security kiosk for whoever it is that they're meeting with to come down and get them. We will not allow anybody into the building without an escort this year. Okay, and so with that, then I will turn things back over to Mr. Rice.
I want to just remind all the parents to complete the survey that'll be posted on our website. And at this time, I want to thank all of the people who helped organize tonight's program, and to our presenters and the staff behind the scenes to make this program possible. To our parents, thank you for your ongoing support and trust. It is truly, truly appreciated.